everybody. Welcome back to the Art of Zenning. This is chapter 11, and if I may say, one of the more special chapters ever, and we'll tell you guys very shortly in a moment. So in the last chapter, chapter 10, we started talking about relationships. And like I said, we have a surprise for you guys today.
Hello, everyone. We're so excited to be in the double digits now. 11 is a special number. It's my birthday. And for that, we have a special guest joining us all the way from Vegas. And that is Sudhir's best friend, Gagan. Gagan, like us, has been through a lot of difficult things in his life, lots of challenges. And as he went through those challenging times in his life, he went through his spiritual awakening in the most unlikely places, the Sin City, Las Vegas. And ever since that, he's been quietly using his spiritual knowledge to help people deal with their own trials and tribulations in a very practical and common sense sort of way. He and Sudhir have been having spiritual discussions on a daily basis, and I think they both have learned from each other and helped each other grow. And today, we want to bring him into our discussion of a very special topic, which is how do we handle our intimate relationships, which are our most important relationships. So, welcome, Gagan. We're so excited to have you.
Hi guys.
Hello, Gagan. And just
Hey.
to Sandy's introduction, Gagan's my childhood best friend. I've been privileged. We went to engineering university together, and we've been buddies since. And it's funny how our paths throughout lives have taken us apart physically, but always kept us connected. So I feel very privileged about that. Welcome, Pap.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for that awesome and uh, over the top kind of introduction. I'm actually very thrilled, honored, and even humbled to be on this great channel of yours. You guys have done fantastic work with all the videos you're producing, the stories you're sharing, the techniques. I've learned a lot. I've been a follower right from the start, and I've learned a lot from it. And the knowledge you have shared, your personal stories, and this is really great public service. People just don't realize how great it is. This knowledge is just wealth of information that helps people to have a better quality of life. So thank you, you guys. You've done fantastic work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it, and I'm thrilled to join it. Appreciate it.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And thanks, Gagan. So my friend, since we've already put you on the spot, so I'll
Right,
keep you there.
right,
This
right.
episode literally is all about you. Tell us a little bit, as Sandy introduced, like how you got into to helping people with. We absolutely, like I said, in addition to just the spirituality, let's park it for a moment.
Right.
How did you, as a result of having that kind of a more broadened spiritual, if you will, or a broadened awareness about ourselves, about our lives, how did you think about just catering that knowledge towards younger folks or trying to help them out? And how did that start about? And tell us about your journey a bit.
Good question. Good question. Absolutely. And much like most other people like yourself, I went through my own challenges, my own difficulties, and in my case, they were more career and financial. And so, it's when you go through challenges and you can't take it anymore. That's the time you really start asking questions. Is this really it? And what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? And we look to your past and see if there was anything you could have done
Right.
for a different outcome. And what I realized was that if I look back at every point in that time, my 360 was the same. I would have taken the same decision and would be at the same spot. So it felt like everything was gearing towards my life, which is the way it is. It would have been the same. So there was nothing I could have done. And that's how you start questioning. And once I started getting answers, and of course, the universe was helping me to get the answers, I wanted to, just like you, I wanted to share it with other people. And that's how I got into what I realized was things were very simple, and we unnecessarily made them very complicated. And that's what led to, so it's basically simplification. You just help people just see through things like the way you got to see them. And it's simple. It's not that complicated. And so that one thing led to another, and it's still continuing, and it happens every day.
That's so awesome. So what about like the very first time? It was a bit of an aha for any of the folks, whether they were, friends or extended family or anybody who you actually helped where you yourself had a bit of an aha, oh really, this is something I can bring
Right.
on as a big value for them, right?
Yeah, I did, and there were lots of these little aha moments where just simple. And what I realized was the less I was thinking, the better, the more effective I was, because I was taking myself out of the picture, and there was no emotion there. It was just as if it was energy just flowing through me. So it just came and went to them, and it stuck. I was like magic. Like I didn't do anything. How did that happen? And I'm sure some very similar things happen with you guys too, where
Yeah.
you tell somebody something and you're like, did I really think of this? And the answer is no. It just came out. It's like
Almost like
somebody is talking through you.
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's what we have realized too, Gagan, that ultimately all polarities are one, right?
Exactly.
All polarities are one, and all complex solutions, all complex problems have a very simple solution, and that solution most often lies within us. And
Absolutely.
that every paradox that you experience in life always has an answer, and the answer is a very simple one. So thank you for sharing that. I want to start by asking you, how do you define an intimate relationship? What do you um, what do you take as an intimate relationship?
So any relationship which is you is is very close to you on a daily basis, on a physical basis, and distance actually doesn't really matter. It you kind of as an entity fuse with the other entity. So let's take an example of married couples. Married couples have, and especially newlyweds. The biggest problem that I feel that that they have is living in the past. They're living in the past, and they're resistant to change, and they're very resistant to change because the Western society has geared towards made this individual achievement a big thing, so they are not letting themselves go. And what they don't realize is that they have now become one entity. Two people got to become one entity, and it's no more I. It's us, right? So if it's us, uh, then it's one entity, and that's how they have to start thinking, not thinking of I want to preserve my identity. And that's where the issues really happen. So
Mhm.
in an intimate relationship where they cannot function, to answer your question, they cannot function as two separate individuals or five separate individuals. They have to work as one team, as one person, just like our body does. Hands, legs, feet, they all are one body. So similarly, they have to kind of fuse, and that's the intimate relationship that they cannot function without uh, as individuals anymore. It has to function as one unit.
Mhm. But is that all the time? Because I find with our relationship, um, the um, the peace came after we got married was when we learned to accept our the space in our togetherness. When we learned to be who we were and not always be one. Like when we learned to be totally comfortable being each other, and then when we were there together as one, then we were like totally comfortable being that too.
Right.
So that
Right.
space in the togetherness, do you feel that is something that is missing in some couples? Because there's this expectation, like I feel like all of us put the intimate relationship on this pedestal, like we are willing to give leeway to our kids, they can do whatever, to
Right.
our parents they can do whatever, but to ourselves, to each other, it's like you have to be perfect, you have to be this for me, otherwise I'm all broken
I
and
Right.
you
think
have
like,
to fix
yeah,
me. Yeah, yeah.
like Gagan, this is wonderful. As you were saying, Gagan, that we all individually, like even using us as an example, although we promise we won't get personal.
Right.
But in our example,
Yeah.
we came as two separate individuals, and then we became one in through that relationship. To your point, but typically what happens is the separate individual in each of us has such a powerful ego or individuality that it's difficult to look past it, and we bring that baggage with us to now start expecting the other person to live according to that baggage of
Right.
mind, right?
Right.
Yes, I get it now, Gagan. What you're
Yeah.
trying to say is
Yeah.
you don't bring in the egos.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Yes, okay, I get it now. Yes.
And there's second thing, I think, which you, Sandy, which you mentioned about space, very, very important here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, two entities fusing together does not mean that they give up who they are and they don't enjoy, like, one does, like Sudhir was saying, you don't become one person and the other person's personality is completely gone. That's not that is at all. What it means, the exact opposite, that you fuse as one entity, and then your focus is on the other person's needs and his focus is on your needs, so that you individually have a fulfilling life, and but you're focused on their needs and they're focused on your needs. Eventually together, you're still together, and you get to do, you're always looking out for their needs, they're always looking out for your needs, and together you have all your needs fulfilled and you have a fulfilled life. So perfect example, what I usually give these newlyweds or premarital counseling is a list of what are his needs, what are her needs, that together becomes our needs, and all those needs are to be fulfilled. And then there'll be a rating. The rating would be from the other couple saying that how much of my need got fulfilled. So let's say someone likes skiing. For example, I like skiing and my wife did not like the cold at all, right? So we used to love the mountains. And so together we worked out a solution where we used to go to a ski resort. She would be sitting inside sipping lattes and stuff, and I would be on the slopes. And then we would come back, and then we would play cards with our friends, do something indoors with the fireplace and have wine, this and that. So her needs got checked, my needs got checked, and both of us were feeling better about each other. Similarly, when we were back, I was looking out for what she needs. So together, the space also, give her the full space, give her the full support.
Mm-hmm.
And similar, the other person is also doing the same thing. So it's a symbiotic kind of relationship. This is a word you've used a lot in your videos, which is fantastic. So you allow them to be their full individual. You're just in a support mode, and they allow you to be a full individual in a support mode. So both of you get your space and you get your new needs fulfilled at the same time. It happens a lot when you have kids, right? Together you had kids, and now you're kind of forced to be a team, and you're looking out for them because it was a joint project,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen when you are like two individuals getting together, because it takes time. You've been individuals for a long time, and then you becoming a team takes a while. You looking out for each other takes a while. You've been just looking out for yourself all this time.
Yeah, I think the kids are a great example where all of us, the whole humanity agrees. It's a mistake you only realize after you've made it.
Absolutely. Very expensive mistake, by the way.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
But
So I love this point of yours, is that it's the patience and the time, right? We have to be patient when we get into a relation. Like, all of relationships start with a very superficial kind of relationship,
right?
And then it grows and the bond deepens, and then it's okay for you to miss what you love once in a while. Like, I know
right
Sudhir loves playing poker, and by the way, we are supposed to be living where you are living, and you should live where he lives.
We should.
I know.
Because
the power has its own way of
you want the mountains and skiing, and I want the casinos, man.
Yeah.
So
right. Exactly.
So initially, when he started playing poker, I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself, because it's like 8-hour-long games, and
he was giving you space.
Yeah.
Only when he started earning money from to go shopping.
Right.
Yeah, it was a win-win then.
Yeah, that's when I realized it was. So it's basically accepting that what the other person loves gives him so much joy, and in that joy you feel the joy. But that's an ideal scenario, right? That's an ideal scenario, but I don't see most couples getting to that point. How do they get from that point A to point B, where it's a very superficial relationship, where my needs are my needs, to a point where from me we become we? How do we do that?
I think, again, like any even people at work, they're becoming one team, is shared goals, common goals, right? Once you have common goals, and here people have here's another point about Western society. They focus on the achievement portion, that happiness will come through achievement. Mm-hmm. Happiness is not a goal. achievement is the goal. And what they realize is they keep achieving, and they're giving up so much. What you're giving up so much to achieve, you don't realize it's not making you happy.
Mhm.
And the happiness never comes. And people who are super successful also, they end up in big egos, drugs, this, that, or the alcoholism, this, and they're never happy. So if you keep happiness the goal, as long as each member, baby steps, first of all, shared goals and then baby steps.
Mhm.
So, and the shared goal is that together we want to be one unit and a happy unit and look out for each other and be the support, to make each other better. That being the goal, and then take baby steps and do little things. Don't have to do something big. Don't have to give up your life. Just do little things for each other, and the joy that you get is so much more than what you gave in.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think
So
you hit the nail on the head. That's very well said. I was just thinking about what you're trying to say is, like, if I say, I guess traditionally or from an ego perspective, that I love you, so you must do what I want, as opposed to I love you, so I want you to do what you want.
Mhm.
exactly, and I'm there just to support you. Okay, this is what
Exactly.
Yeah.
shopping is. What you want to do? Here's my credit card. Here's my bank balance. Take everything. Right?
Whoa, how did we get there?
That's why I said baby steps. You start with your wallet, and then your
Yeah.
credit card, and then your bank balance. Slowly.
Or vice versa.
Yeah, same thing.
And it's also, I think
Yeah.
it's also wonderful to realize that whether it's intimate relationships, whether it's in a working relationship, the key is not to, especially in today's world, is not to see the world as black and white.
Right.
It's just everything is, these are good people, these are bad people. I
Right.
hate my wife, I love my wife.
Right.
It's always never going to be the extreme polarities.
Mhm.
Right.
It'll always be gray because we live in a world that's gray. It's not
Right.
black and white, even at work. And that's how it keeps it fun, because I know we were talking about poker earlier. I look at life upon an extended game of poker where I don't always know every day I wake up which cards I'm going to be dealt.
Right. Right.
My team at work doesn't know that. My wife doesn't know that. My kids don't know that. Our
Right.
son has to take a SkyTrain to go to his, his dream school every day
Right.
morning, and every day he's surprised. Something happens that is unexpected.
Right.
The triggers in today's rather complicated world. So we got to stop thinking of living our lives in a black and white fashion.
Right.
It'll always
Right.
be gray, and we have to become comfortable in the uncomfortable, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
Talking about uncomfortable,
yeah.
Gagan,
Yeah.
every relationship has like other people that are involved. So I'm going to
Mm.
bring in the in-laws,
Right.
right? And they're a big trigger. And I have seen relationships break because of that. I've seen relationships like people fighting when they are a very compatible couple, and then somebody
Right.
else comes in, and then it's all hell breaks loose. So
No, very, very important ingredient you mentioned there. And another thing that Sudhir was talking about, the baggage, right? What baggage we really bring is everything that we have seen in our lives. We try to extrapolate. Now, oh, you did this on a scale of 10, you did 1, that means you're going to 10.
mhm.
Because I've seen my dad do this to my mom, I've seen my uncle do this to my aunt, this, that. I mean, we just immediately, most people have fights in the beginning. The big fights are because they are extrapolating. Oh, you didn't remember my birthday, that means you will do this. And the
Mhm.
guy was like, oh, I'm sorry, I just forgot your birthday. How did the hell break loose, right? So we are extrapolating, and when his and hers. First of all, I think you hit upon an important point. The important thing here is, in the marriage counseling thing, I also talk about this to the folks, is this becomes the most important relationship. If you're not happy here, you cannot be a better son or daughter. You cannot be a better brother or sister. You cannot be a better anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not a husband or a wife together, you cannot be a better anything. It's like the sun. Sun is bursting with energy. It's giving so much of light and energy to the whole universe. If the sun is like without any light and it's imploding, it's not going to be helpful to anyone. So similarly, this relationship that has become the most important one in your life, from two individuals to now one entity, that's the highest priority. And all these other relatives also come in. You are absolutely right. But perfect example. It's never that I'm telling my father-in-law or someone else to say, or my sister to tell my wife that she should be listening to this. If I should be the one telling her, she should be the one trusting me, right? So the relatives who are coming in, they what these two people have to realize is they have become a second or a third priority now. In a universe, now you're at the center of the core, and everyone's outside. So take their advice, but if it leads to disturbance in your peace, the most important relationship, then you can't follow it. You should not be following it.
Mm-hmm.
So let them not overburden you or influence you to the level where if it's leading to a fight, it's not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
If it's leading to a resolution of a conflict that you guys have, it's a good thing. But if it's leading to just fights, that's not a good thing. So let them not be of that higher level influence that actually derails your most important relationship. That's the way to keep the influence out. And still be there for advice, but not to influence you to a level where it disturbs your peace.
Mm-hmm.
Is that making sense? Because I see a
Yes.
frown on your face.
I do, and I also, especially, I've noticed in a lot of cultures, there is this also the disparity between, how one set of parents are treated and the other set of parents are treated, which leads to a lot of conflict. So, what do you
Right.
have to say to that?
Regardless of which set of parents it is, you and your partner are the most important. And you now everything else becomes outside your universe, in the sense outside your core.
Mm-hmm.
And you listen to both sides. So, oh, my parents said this and your parents said this. Let's look at this information in the context of our piece.
Mm-hmm.
If this one's making more sense, let's absorb that. If this is not making sense, let's throw it out.
Mm-hmm.
So it again, the peace and happiness of the most important relationship is at the crux, is at the center.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to radiate peace and happiness to the others. If that's stressed, and you'll see this example where if there's a couple that's not getting along, who, regardless of who shows up at their door or stays with them for a few days, they always have a bad time because the core is not good.
Mm-hmm.
There's no harmony at the core.
Right, right.
And so, and if vice versa is also true. So regardless of who goes there, they always have a good time because the core again is feeling happy and feeling good about themselves.
That's
Yeah.
true, because the
Yeah.
whole peace and happiness has got to come from the inside, not
Mhm.
from
Inside.
influencers from the outside. Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what I'm getting here too is, communication between the two, the two people who are in that most important relationship. Like now, like I kind of get it why we put that relationship on that pedestal. Why that is the most important relationship, because
Right.
that is the center. And if that relationship doesn't have the joy and happiness, it's not going to radiate out.
Right.
Because that's the foundation.
That's the foundation. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've seen that kids exploit that all the time. If the mom and dad are not getting along, they'll use one against the other. The kids are that little; they're so smart. So adults are even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Your mom and dad, or her mom and dad, his mom and dad, they will exploit that, and just they'll to be in your good books. They'll tell you things which are not good for you as a couple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what do you say to someone, like, say they are they are getting into an intimate relationship, but they don't know how to assess it. They don't know how that is the real thing.
You mean like commitment?
Yeah, like how do they take it to the next level? Or like there's, nowadays most people it's like taking longer and longer to be committed in the relationship. Like people are independent and they want to not lose that, and there's a lot of other things, right? There could be long distance in their relationships, there could be so many other things. So how do you, like, what's your secret to assessing the perfect relationship?
I mean, again, perfection is something that is achieved over time, and it's how much each one of them is willing to give. So again, starting with the his and her list, this is what I need from coming out of this, and this is what she needs coming out of this. Together, we need to fulfill all these boxes need to be checked. So, and then there's a rating. The frequency of that rating is decided by the couple themselves. Like every month, I want to rate you on this. Like you said, you will let me go for poker 10 times, and you didn't even let me go 2 times. So I'm going to mark you a 2 on a scale of 10, for example.
Yeah.
So that's how you rate each other. And at the end of the day, the total integrated score, weighted score has to be the highest, right? You made,
Yeah.
so you got to forget yourself and see how I can perform better on her needs scale, and he needs to do the same thing for you. So uh, it's how much you give to the relationship, and the more forgetting yourself, that's the part where it's they don't realize the I is not I anymore, it's we has become the new I. So very much like your body, right? If your legs hurting, you can't run a race. You will be always underperforming if you're a runner and your legs hurting, because imagine the leg was someone else, now it's part of you, so you got to keep the whole body healthy.
That's very
But
well.
if somebody doesn't want to, like, there are people.
Or in other words, have you in your counseling so far? Let's can I call it counseling, or would you?
Yeah, whatever. I'm not charging for it, so
Yeah.
as of yet. Maybe after this appearance.
In your ethereal counseling.
Yes. Go ahead.
Have you come across any couples or would-be couples, to Sandy's point, where even after trying to help them out or assessing them over a short period of time, you yourself have decided that no, they're not meant for each other, so I better not lead them to a wrong path based on my direction?
Right. No, absolutely. I have, and in fact, there were times when they had to, they realized they weren't, because of this thing that they weren't performing on the scale. Communication is, like Sandy mentioned, very, very, very important. So they weren't communicating. And because of this, perception of every event was different. When I used to hear the account from one person, it was a completely different event. And they said, oh, she needs counseling from you. And the guy used to say, she used to say, he needs counseling from you. What they were trying to say was that I'm not willing to change.
Yes.
The other person should be willing to change. And it became apparent iteration after iteration that they weren't meant to be together. And that's how they ended up.
You reminded me of this. It was a little rather funny way of saying it. So I guess the problem with marriages, where I read this, is that the woman always wants the man to change.
Right.
The man does not want the woman to change. That's the problem.
And then both of them are wrong in that case.
And both of them are wrong. Yeah,
right.
Be careful what you're saying. Yeah.
So the reality is that the both of them, the pre-marriage counseling that I talked about is more that this is what you're getting into. Are you ready for this? You'll have to yin has to become yang. You have to completely give up who you are, which the Western society is completely against. They said you should be the individual. You are this. You want to achieve this. You never change for anyone because it has worked in the past. It'll work in the future. The problem is your life is changing every day. Even with kids, now kids become a part of the whole thing. If your daughter or son or someone else is unhappy, then they'll make sure that you are not to your full potential. So you make sure that, so it becomes our needs again. Your I keeps expanding over time.
Right.
And the more you give it, the better it is.
Yeah. No, mentioning that yin and yang, so I will bring that spiritual quotient in there. So, every marriage has or a relationship, an intimate relationship has the, intelligence quotient, an emotional quotient, and then there's a physical quotient, and then there is the spiritual. So how do we balance? So I find in today's world, we cannot no longer think of people as male or female, right?
Right.
We have both energies in every single individual. And sometimes even the person with those energies has a hard time accepting it. And then they go into a relationship with another person who is struggling with his, male, female, yin, yang, whatever energies. How do you come into a relationship and balance each other's energies and bring that harmony, right? Bring that harmony. How do you suggest that?
I think that the communication portion is very important, and when I say communication, it means that how more sharing you're doing, like the rating scale, for example. When you say, okay, you performed 5 and the person thinks that I did 10 and you have only a 5 on a scale of 10, there's this gap. So the gap needs to be fulfilled, and the more you communicate, the more you give, the better it gets. And what you realize is if, that there's pleasure in, of course, giving in, right? And then you also have your needs, which are met by the other person. And the more you communicate, the better it gets. And when that happens, there's a higher energy. The yin and yang balances itself out.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see the balance approaching by itself. There's no one scale that fits all. Each couple needs to exchange these ratings with each other, have a regular interval, and see how they're doing. And as and when they're getting better, eventually you see the piece descending more and more, and the balance it working itself out. So
Yeah. So I
it's
think,
the communication.
and as a result of that process, they start to eventually appreciate that, oh my God, I really didn't realize that I was actually so low on
Right.
a specific rating, because I always thought that I'm much better than that.
Exactly. That's the perception. What you're talking about is the perception people have. Oh, I did fantastic.
Yes.
And you're like, no, you were not even adequate. So
Mm-hmm.
this awareness has to be created again and again, and it'll be only with iteration, because again, this becoming together one entity takes time. The more you give it, the better it gets,
Yeah.
and the
And,
faster the balance of the yin and the yang approaches.
mhm.
And I think communication is really beautiful, but the other thing is how you communicate, right? Say, if you want to approach your partner about something that really bothers you, it has to be approached in a way that you are not already sticking to a point of view. You've not already made up,
In a defensive way.
like, or you're not. It's not an accusation. It's
Right.
that the other person shuts down. It's a dialogue that the other person opens up, and giving the opportunity to each other to open up and really have a dialogue. Because if you are, and that's, I think, the mistake that a lot of intimate couples, people in their intimate relationships do, is that they they don't talk to that person like you would talk to your boss.
Right.
Right? Like you take them for granted. So
Right.
Mhm.
I have this rule that if I'm going to approach someone or something that's bothering me, I have to pretend that person, I have to talk to that person like I would talk to a person like my boss or at
Right.
work. So at least I give them that much respect that
Right.
we can have a civil conversation,
Right.
right?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. It has to be done in a productive way where the other person responds rather than just reacts and gets angry and shuts down, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So, and again, this is art. It comes with time.
Yeah.
How to say it, constructive feedback, as you want to put it. And if, by repeated exercise, what happens is when they realize that this is happening for their good and
Yeah.
leads to their happiness, their chemistry betterment and stuff,
Mhm.
it gets better. It gets better. Then they even if it's direct, and like, don't do this, which
Mhm.
could have been very insulting a few months back, but now oh, you know what, she's only telling me like this so that I do it faster and we don't repeat it and things are smooth.
Right.
Mhm.
So, but again, in the beginning, you can't do that. You have to be very, very tactful, how to say this. And again, they would extrapolate. The moment you say something, and they would, because the baggage they have, the experiences they've had, they'll like go from 0 to 10. Like, this is what this person wants. He's an egotist. He's, yeah, da, 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 da. And they have this, because it's the pain bodies. Sudhir and I keep talking about that becomes live. It's like PTSD. You
Yeah.
have a bad experience, it like lights up your
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I have realized is when two people get into an intimate relationship, all their wounds open up.
right.
Either they heal those wounds
Yeah.
or they damage each other with those,
Right.
right? And that's why we have to be very careful, because it is got to happen. It's got to happen when you are with somebody you love. Your wounds are open up, and then how do you help each other heal? Because I think everybody carries those wounds from everything they've been through before they find that one person or their soulmate,
Right.
and now it's just like
And unfortunately, in addition to addressing the existing wounds,
Mhm.
sometimes prior to addressing them, we create new wounds.
New one.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
And no, very,
How
very
do you heal those wounds when actually they open up? How do you heal those wounds?
very, very a good important thing you mentioned here, and that extrapolation basically is that wound opening up, right?
Mm-hmm.
XYZ is gonna leave me or gonna do this and never talk to me for weeks, because that's what I've seen happening,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the wound you're addressing. First of all, the other person has to be sensitive, and I think this happens only with time, when the old experiences get replaced with new experiences. Oh, wait a second, this person is not the same person. You have to remind yourself, he or she did not have the same experiences,
Right, right.
and they behave differently. This is what I was expecting. By the time they got to scale almost from 1 to 5, they were a completely different reaction to what I'm used to. So it's newer experiences creating newer impressions on your mind, which replace do the healing,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So it's repeated iteration, and which is not similar to your previous experience in the same similar situation,
Mm-hmm.
which will lead to the healing. Now, when your mind is comparing, this new behavior is comparing to the new experience, not the previous one, because it's, that doesn't happen anymore. This is the new thing. So that is kind of how the healing has already happened,
Mm-hmm.
because now you're comparing to the recent reaction in a similar situation, which is not that painful. It used to be, because that's how the other person behaved.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just creating new experiences by repeated interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I'm loving this. This has been great, Gagan, and thank you so much. As we expected, as we discuss and converse and go back and forth, we could probably be here forever.
Yeah,
We would love
this is
to.
the last lifetime.
But I want to make sure our followers and
Yeah.
folks are not already zoning off. So
Exactly.
we'll try to bring this to conclusion. I mean, I promise our viewers and followers this is the first of many, hopefully, and we'll always have the privilege to be able to tap you on the phone or Zoom and technology, and you'll be with us. So how do you want, if you don't mind, maybe summarize for us, please, a few takeaways for our followers? It's been great, lovely input. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for putting me on such a high pedestal. I think I should start charging for my session now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, the invitation to this channel alone gives me the certificate to charge. Long story. Actually, we did a long story. So to cut it short, again, we have to be very flexible. Very flexible. Realize that it's okay to let go of who you were. This is now the new us is you. Be flexible and think of making sure that all those check boxes are checked. They don't have to be 100%, but at least there should be something. Somebody likes something, do that for them. And what you realize is that they won't want it as much anymore, because they're getting pleasure, so much of pleasure from other things. So be flexible, stop living in the past, and look out for the other person, and really behave like one team, one entity, and over communicate. Stop extrapolating of what your past baggage is, your past experiences. This is a new person, and they're not your dad or uncle who behaved a certain way, right? This is a new person who has a different history. They are here for you. So eventually things will happen. So don't try to preserve your ego. Don't have perceptions, preconceived notions. Just be flexible, take it as it comes, and keep happiness and harmony at the core. And that is the most important part of the relationship. And when you're happy from the inside, you can make others happy. If you're not there, your boat is sinking, you can't give refuge to others. So that's in a nutshell.
Beautiful. That is awesome, Gagan. Thank you again very much. So Zenners, there you have it. Gagan Verma, give him a big hand from Vegas.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll meet in person soon.
Yeah,
absolutely. Please visit Vegas. It's in dire need of wealthy Canadians.
Okay, you're going to have to talk to somebody else about that. Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Gagan.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate you inviting me. Thank you. It's been a